Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 18. Yep, 18 minutes of mindfulness meditation. So, thank you for joining me. Our schedule is definitely a little off today, so Lily's going to be here to join us for just a second. But go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable position today, whether you choose to sit in a seat, a literal seat on the floor, or if you choose to lie down, go ahead and make your way to that position now. So on the heels of yesterday, we were talking about how the senses, the five senses, are the gateways into how we perceive the world. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, what we touch. These are all ways that we are informed, that the mind is informed as to what is going on. And then from that, we make assumptions, or we make our reality, essentially. Because what we take in through those senses is what our mind then determines to be the truth, and we go forward from there. So for today, what we're going to do, if you want to grab something, is we're actually going to work with taking one of our senses and turning down the volume, or trying to not let it be so active. And the one we're going to work with today is our sight. So if you have an eye pillow, or if you're wearing glasses like I am, we will be at some point taking our hands and placing them over our eyes. So just to give you an idea of where we're going. So before we get there though, I'm going to give us a little bit more time than I did yesterday, so we have time to actually experience this versus me just giving you sort of the highlights so you could try it on your own. We're here already, right? So we might as well do it together. So as you're making your way into whatever comfortable position you're in, we're going to take a little bit of movement again today. So let's place one hand on our shoulder, whatever hand you'd like to start with, and let's just make circles with the shoulders. We're just opening up the body as if you're with your elbow, just making a giant circle on the wall on that side, or whatever's next to you. And then if you're moving in one direction, let's move in the other. Just feel the shoulders opening. And then let's switch sides, so opposite, or the other shoulder, let's bring the hand on, and let's just make circles. And while you're moving and just opening up the shoulders, can you notice, now let's move in the opposite direction, what's going on with your jaw? Often, as we've mentioned before, if the jaw, or if the shoulders are tight, if we've been holding a lot of breath in our upper chest, the jaw also will start to clench. So now we can just let the hands rest down for a second. As we start to just open up the shoulders, you may feel that above that, like the neck and the jaw, may also want some attention. So let's bring one ear towards the shoulder. And as you do it, just begin to notice, how is your breath moving in your body today? Maybe bring your chin up a little bit on a diagonal. When you do that, notice where the stretch in the neck on the opposite side is now. It may have shifted slightly. And then let's bring our head back into a neutral position and then go over to the other side. So the other ear towards the shoulder. You'll feel the stretch along the neck. Notice if your shoulder's trying to creep up, can you just gently encourage it through your awareness to just rest on down? Again, you can bring the chin up a little bit on a diagonal and notice it may shift the stretch from being right down the side of the neck Now to a little bit more towards the back of the neck. And then let's come back to center. And then let's tuck the chin towards the chest and just feel the whole back of the neck, the shoulders and the backs of the shoulders, just like the shoulder blades, just resting down the back. And then let's bring our chin back up to a neutral position. Just do a few shoulder rolls here. And then we'll just come to find a still position. And for our breath work today, we'll work on bringing our awareness to just noticing if the breath is moving in evenly through both nostrils. And if we can feel that both lungs are inflating and deflating at a similar rate, intensity, pace, however you want to refer to it. And for me, I like to move my attention away from the device or allow the eyes to close entirely. Just helps me bring my awareness now just to the nose, but you can choose how you want to proceed here. Notice if you can feel the breath moving into both nostrils. Maybe you feel it moving in predominantly through one. And then just notice if you can feel the breath moving in the nostrils. And it may be too subtle to actually at this point begin to feel the breath moving throughout the body, but maybe you start to notice the chest, the ribs, and the low belly moving. And just sit with that for the moment. And then now maybe you can begin to shift your awareness to just noticing how the lungs, does it feel like you're breathing evenly into the respiratory system? And if this is just, you're like, this is just way too much, I can't get that low, I can't get that subtle. Remember, you always have one hand that you can place under the armpit, the other hand under the other armpit, rest the shoulder or the elbows down. And this will help bring your awareness to this region, and it may ultimately help you feel if you're breathing evenly or if one side or the other is breathing a little bit stronger. So again, you can choose how you'd like to proceed here. And the reason why we're working to get down to this more subtle awareness is because we're going to begin to move in turning down the sense of sight today. And we're going to do that by resting our hands over our eyes. So if you have glasses on like I do today, you can go ahead and remove them. If you're in a cross-legged seat and it would be easier for you to rest your hands on your eyes, if your elbows are resting on something, go ahead and find something to rest your elbows on. It could be if you have a piece of furniture, you can also bend your knees and then rest your elbows on your knees. And then we're just going to block out everything from the sense of sight using our hands. And why we want to work with this today versus just closing our eyes is, first, you may notice that you're seeing images, lights, or colors dancing behind the closed eyes with the hands over them. But the hands really are going to block out any of that ambient light that would seep through if we were just closing our eyes. And then from this place, from a position of having our eyes completely blocked off, we can begin to heighten or notice the heightened awareness of the other senses. So you may not have even been aware of it or put much attention to it when we first sat down, but now you may find that you're starting to hear different things. So I want you to specifically try and see what's the furthest sound that you can hear at this moment. It could be outside of the room that you're in. It could be at a street level. If you're outside, it could be the furthest noise you hear from the highest reaches. And without getting hung up on what it is that you're hearing or trying to identify what it is, just note that you are hearing it and then move on to the next sound. And then let's begin to bring our awareness to the sounds within the room of which you're joining. Just bounce from sound to sound, noticing maybe the fan on the appliances. Maybe there's some activity in other parts of the house that you're hearing. And then slowly begin to bring your awareness to the sounds that you're hearing right outside of your ears. So the sounds closest to you, which could include my voice coming through to you. And again, we're not getting hung up on what these sounds are or trying to identify them. We're just noting that we hear something. And then see if you can just hear the noises immediately inside your own ears, whatever that is. And from this point, maybe you begin to observe a shift in how you're breathing, how the breath is moving into you. You may even notice that it's a little bit easier to notice, are the lungs moving in a similar fashion? Or maybe that the breath feels like it's more predominant on one side versus the other. And it's okay if you don't. But with the senses pulling in, it's a little bit easier to identify with these subtle nuances. And then with the sense of touch, notice the hands over the eyes. The warmth and the protection that the hands are providing. How you can actually rest your head into the palms so that you can start to, again, relax the shoulders, the jaw. Because we don't need to hold the head up. And if you have bent knees with your elbows resting on them like I do, you can actually start to just rest your weight into the knees the knees into the feet into the floor below us. If you're resting your hands on something like, say, a desk at this moment, you could just rest your elbows into that so that we begin to feel this heaviness, this grounding, at the same time that we're able to let go of holding on to anything with that sense of touch. Being supported by the ground below. And then again, just notice what's going on with the breath. As you start to relax into this, notice how the breath just begins to regulate, to move into a slower, longer, more rhythmic state. And this is the parasympathetic system, the nervous system kicking in, that's allowing us to move into this state of rest. And then before we get too comfortable, this is always something you can try multiple times throughout the day, especially with all the technology that we take in through the eyes these days. This is a beautiful exercise to do multiple times throughout the day just to give ourselves a break. But for our purposes, let's slowly begin to just consciously increase our breath, making it a little bit longer, a little bit stronger. You can even just sigh it out if you like. And let's wiggle anything that feels like it needs to be wiggled, fingers and toes. And we're slowly going to move our hands away from our eyes. Do this very slowly. And then let your chin tuck towards your chest. And we'll just gently blink our eyes open, focus on something on the floor, one individual point on the floor if you can. And then feel your perception, your viewing area getting bigger and bigger. You're taking in more. And now let your gaze come on up. And take a look around. Be mindful and slow here about what's happening, because it may feel really overwhelming at this moment to take in the sights of a place that you're completely familiar with, but that you had consciously taken offline by blocking your eyes. So things may seem more vibrant, bigger, a little bit more intense. And if it does, just take a note of that. Become aware. And with that, our 18 minutes of mindfulness is up. I hope that you enjoyed that little exercise, that you can use it throughout the day whenever you need a break. And we will be back tomorrow for day 19, 19 minutes of mindfulness. Have a great day.